In the last few videos, we went over congruences among any kind of triangle. In this video, we are going to focus on congruences between two right triangles. Before we get started, let's go over the parts of a right triangle. Here, we have a right triangle. Opposite from the 90-degree angle is known as the hypotenuse. And the two sides adjacent to the right angle are known as legs. With that quick review, let's go over the leg-leg congruence theorem. The leg-leg congruence theorem, T21, says that if the legs of one right triangle are congruent to the corresponding legs of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So here we have our two right triangles, and we're going to say that this side, or this leg, is congruent to the corresponding leg, and this leg is also congruent to the corresponding leg. So based on this theorem, then the two triangles are congruent. And if you look at this, there is a very simple way to prove this theorem. And if you remember the side-angle-side congruence postulate, and we know that since these are both right triangles, the right angles are 90 degrees, and therefore the right angles are congruent because they're the same measure. So here we have side-angle-side, side-angle-side. So using the side-angle-side postulate is an easy way to prove the leg-leg congruence theorem. Now let's go over the hypotenuse-angle congruence theorem. The hypotenuse-angle congruence theorem, T22, says that if the hypotenuse and acute angle of one right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse and corresponding acute angle of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Here we have two right triangles where the hypotenuse of both are congruent and an acute angle and a corresponding acute angle are also congruent. A very simple way to prove this theorem would be using the angle-angle-side congruence theorem. Since these are 90-degree angles, the measures are the same, so these two angles are congruent. Therefore, we have angle-angle-side and angle-angle-side, all congruent. Therefore, these two triangles are congruent, and that is how you would prove the hypotenuse-angle congruence theorem. Let's go over the leg-angle congruence theorem. The leg-angle congruence theorem says that if one leg and an acute angle of one right triangle are congruent to the corresponding leg and acute angle of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Here we have two right triangles where one leg is congruent to another leg that is the corresponding leg, and one acute angle is congruent to the corresponding acute angle. The way we would prove the leg-angle congruence theorem is by using the angle-side-angle congruence postulate. Because since we have two angles that are corresponding and both 90 degrees, they are corresponding congruent angles, and we have angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. Let's go over one more right triangle congruence, and this will be the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. The hypotenuse leg congruence theorem, or T24, says that if the hypotenuse and a leg of one right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse and corresponding leg of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Here we have two right triangles. The hypotenuses are congruent, and a corresponding leg is also congruent. Therefore, the two triangles are congruent. And that was 4 different right triangle congruences. We have leg-leg congruence theorem, hypotenuse angle congruence theorem, leg angle congruence theorem, and hypotenuse leg congruence theorem.